15-year-old Sebastian Rogers mysteriously disappeared from his Hendersonville, Tennessee home on Monday, February 26 of 2024. He was last seen at his home, and an Amber Alert was issued the following day. There were no signs of forced entry at the house. Sebastian's mother, Katie Proudfoot, reported hearing a thud the night before, but she dismissed it. Sebastian remains missing, and the question is, what happened to this autistic teenager? The YouTube channel Mr. E's Crimecast. Recently did a 3-hour live about the case, and the controversial spokesperson for Sebastian's biological father, Seth Rogers, Tony Mathis, turned up unexpectedly on the panel. Mathis was there to clarify new information that has come out about 5 DCS reports related to Sebastian and his stepfather, Chris Proudfoot, and his mother, Katie Proudfoot. You heard that right. 5 DCS reports, allegedly. I'm going to play portions of what Tony Mathis said at the end of my portion of this video. Again, that will be from Mr. E's Crimecast. Did I say Mr. Ed's Crimecast earlier? I hope not. It's Mr. E's Crimecast. If you want to hear the whole 3-hour long show, you can head over to that channel. And I will share a link in the description. Let me give you a synopsis of what Tony Mathis had to say regarding Chris and Katie Proudfoot asking Seth to take Sebastian into his home full-time, aside from maybe every other weekend. Mathis wanted to clear up rumors. The story he tells is of a concerned biodad, Seth, waiting to take Sebastian into his home, waiting not because Seth's home was deemed unsuitable by DCS, but rather waiting until Sebastian could be enrolled in the Clarksville High School's online education program. Mathis said there were 5 DCS reports filed beginning in 2022 for the Proudfoot home. And according to Mathis, all of the allegations are against Sebastian's stepfather, Chris Proudfoot. This would seem to indicate that as early as 2022, Chris and Katie too were trying to get Seth to take Sebastian in. It sounds like Seth was trying to handle the situation with Sebastian's best interests in mind. At that time, Seth, I believe, did not know about the DCS reports. Had Seth known about the allegations, it sounds like he would have taken Sebastian in right away. Now, I'm assuming this based on what Tony Mathis has said. Of course, I don't know Seth personally. Thus, I can't vouch for him. I also can't vouch for Tony Mathis, who has done some very questionable things in the past. However, if what Mathis says is true, it explains why Seth did not jump on taking over Sebastian's care. It sounds like Seth was trying to do his due diligence. He wanted Sebastian to have an easy time transitioning. The due diligence would be regarding behavioral facilities for Sebastian. Apparently, Chris and Katie had suggested sending Sebastian to one of these facilities, and they were thinking of doing it themselves. We know that Sebastian was essayed as a child by another child while in the care of Chris and Katie Proudfoot. We also know that people who experience essay often have trouble processing it. We heard early on that Sebastian may have behaved inappropriately in the boys' bathroom at his school. Rumors were that he may have shown something to the other boys in the boys' bathroom and asked to see something of theirs, if you know what I mean. If Sebastian really did that, he may have been acting out or been influenced by his own trauma. Sorry guys, I'm having work done in my house today and I've actually been kicked out of my studio. So if I seem disjointed or if you hear noises in the background, it's because of that. I do apologize, but I thought you'd rather have content than no content. We also know that Chris Proudfoot did not allegedly want Sebastian living in his and Katie's home and that he did not want Sebastian to be around his little girl, for fear, allegedly, that Sebastian might essay his daughter, which is very unfair to Sebastian to even suggest. We cannot ignore 5 DCS reports containing allegations allegedly against Chris. Chris and Katie wanted to send Sebastian to the Bledsoe Youth Academy in Gallatin, Tennessee. Seth did some due diligence on it, however, and decided it was not the right place for Sebastian. I looked it up and I found an article on WKRN.com that described a report done by the New Hampshire Office of the Child Advocate, which alleges that this facility operates on a culture of fear and humiliation, fails to provide the necessary therapeutic and medical care for the kids there. It's a 30-bed residential treatment center for troubled boys ages 12 to 17. The staff has been accused of bringing up children's past trauma as a way to embarrass them in front of their peers. In one instance, a staff member allegedly said to a child, quote, "You're here because your uncle essayed you," end quote. But the staff member used the 4-letter R word. There are also reports of bed bugs there. However, I haven't found any reports of any children dying at that facility. There's also a report of a child eating alone on a dirty, sticky floor because he was under, quote, punishment. I'm going to play you what Tony Mathis said. There might be a gap here because I'm recording on my phone and I'm not used to this. I'll try to tee it right up. Please like this video. I'll see you next time.
That there had been an email sent by Seth Rogers that he was trying to get Sebastian put in a home. I think it started out, September, October, that kind of thing. Even the dates aren't correct. I heard another rumor that something to the effect of Seth was told that, well, they had given Seth a year to get his home in order. And because he couldn't get his home in order, they were going to do something different with Sebastian. That's kind of like, it's kind of like a lot of the other things that have happened there locally. It's just not factual. I'll take you guys back. First off, we're familiar with some of these DCS reports that have been talked about over and over again. I think it's important for your audience to know that over the last 2 years, there's been 5 different DCS reports that were filed. Those reports started in 22.
So did you say 5, Tony?
Correct.
Okay.
Are these all in the Proudfoot home?
Correct.
Okay,
Now,
I don't think I've ever heard that number before.
So what I can tell you, obviously, we are not allowed to discuss the content of those reports.
Right.
I can tell you that whether they're in one parent's name or the other step parent's name, the allegations are consistently against the step parent. So you can have a DCS report that's filed that may be in the mom's name, but it may be regarding the environment that she is allowing her child to be in. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's go back to the first of these DCS reports was filed in 22. So fast forward to 23, which would have been, let's say, a year ago at this time. Katie and Chris were actually trying to get Seth to take Sebastian a year before everybody knew that the plan was for him to go to live with Seth. So you look at, I want to say October of 22. Now these dates are rough. They're within a month or so of being accurate.
Okay.
But in October of 22, um, they had tried to get Seth to take Sebastian then. This is not something that a lot of people know. Well,
I have not heard this. No.
what they're talking about when they say that things could not get in order for him to get Sebastian, it had nothing to do with his home. It had to do with the fact that they wanted him to take Sebastian in the fall of 22, and he had tried to get signed up for the online program with Clarksville schools, and there was a waiting list, and he could not get approved. So he had a conversation with Chris and Katie and told them that he really thought that it would be smart for them to continue to let him finish out the school year and not move him to another physical school in the middle of the year. So that's what happened. He stayed in his, stayed at the school he was at for the remainder of 22 and part of 23. So fast forward to November of 23, we know that there were more DCS reports filed in that month. And we know that on or about the time those DCS reports were filed, Seth Rogers received a call from Chris and Katie that they wanted to put Sebastian in a behavioral center. Basically, you can call it a boys' home. I don't like to call it that. I like to call it a behavioral center.
Okay.
They were having problems with Sebastian at home. They were having problems with Sebastian at school. They were kind of at their wits' end with him. According to Seth, they did not have a lot of patience with him, which is why they had a lot of problems that Seth did not have when he was with Seth. So Seth asked Chris and Katie to send him the name of the organization that they were trying to send him to. They sent him the name. The name of that organization was Bledsoe Youth Academy in Gallatin, Tennessee. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that place.
I don't think I've heard of that.
Okay. So that was in November of 23. Seth does research on that specific center. And according to Seth, there had been 5 or 6 childhood deaths associated with that facility.
Oh, wow.
So when he found that out, he reached out to Chris and Katie again by phone, let them know that under no circumstances was his son going to that facility, and gave them the reason. So they in turn told Seth that if he could find another behavioral facility that he liked better or that he thought was a safer place for Sebastian, they would allow, they would consider that. So the infamous email that people are talking about was simply a forwarded email. I have a copy of it, and I will send it to you guys off the air.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
He reached out to a lady that was a behavioral specialist, and she recommended 4 different centers. And the
Okay.
4 centers were, one was in Missouri, one was in Utah, one was in Wyoming, and then the 4th one was in another state. I can't remember what state it was in.
Okay.
So when Seth got that email, the email described in great detail each facility, what they treated, what they specialized in, a little bit about the facility, and it was basically a synopsis of all 4 facilities. So Seth, on December 1st, simply forwarded that email to Chris and Katie. Again, I have a copy of the forwarding email. So they did some research, figured out that those facilities were between $5,000 and $10,000 a month. They decided it wasn't in the cards for the blended family together to be able to pay for that. So that's when they went back to, well, when this school year's over, he's coming to live with you, which would have been in May, which of course Seth said, fantastic.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to go back to Clarksville and I'm going to find out if he is ready to be approved for that online school. Well, in a matter of a week, Seth found out that Sebastian's name had come up, which would have been the second week of December, and that Sebastian had been approved for the online school. Basically, his turn in line had come up. So everything was, was situated there. They quit talking about the behavioral centers or what have you, and just accepted the fact that in May he was going to live with his dad, and it would be his dad that would be dealing with him and any issues he may or may not have. So fast forward to the end of January of 24, there was
Okay.
another DCS report that was filed. We do not have the details of that report because that report was ongoing when Sebastian went missing.
So even Seth has never read this one.
Correct.
And Tony, there's a few questions in chat about this. And if I remember correctly, Seth had to go to an attorney to get these reports in the first place, correct?
The report, yes, all of the reports that I mentioned previously that were not currently open, he had to go to an attorney to get those reports.
Can I just clarify? So that one that happened in January that Seth has not been able to read, is that is the 5th CPS report that we know of?
Correct.
Okay. Wow.
That's insane.
Now, I'm a math guy, but I don't think you have to be a mathematician for this to add up. And I'm certainly not going to come on your show and start getting into accusing anybody, but
No.
get to the point where there's enough DCS reports and it's been made very clear that they don't want to deal with this child. And on February 25th, early February 26th, the boy goes missing.
Wow.
That's incredible. Why didn't one of the questions that popped in my mind just going through when you were giving this timeline? So if he was trying to get him registered for the online school in 2022, but wasn't able
Correct.
to get in because of a waiting list. Why didn't he take him at the beginning of the fall of 2023? Was there? Do you know the reason?
Hadn't been approved yet. They approve them all throughout the year.
So there was even a 2-year backlog on trying to get into that online school.
Tony said the first week of December he was approved for the online school, and that would have been in 2023.
I see.
It's about 14 months it took him to get approved.
And just to be clear for people in chat, Tony said that the last report that Seth could not get because it's an ongoing report has not been closed.
That's correct.
Okay. And that's why he cannot get it.
Someone else in chat was asking about a meeting with all parents at the school on February 10th. Do you know anything about that?
Or he might not be able to speak on it.
Guys, just like I had to gather all the information for you guys on this, I would have to ask that question and gather that information.
Right.
Gotcha.
No, this, I mean,
This is kind of shocking.
yeah, I don't even know what to say.
So I'm going
So you
to, just in the spirit of your audience knowing that that all of this is that all of this is fact based, and I've verified all of it, looked at the email.